Oui, salut Elodie.
Bonjour Frankel.
Tu es avec nous maintenant déjà des années et on
Yes,
a
Elodie,
découvert
you are with us
ensemble.
since few years now, and we made discovery together. We all have perception, specific skills, but it's warming my heart every time when you tell me what you're doing.
Ouais, ça me chauffe du cœur, le cœur, chaque fois que tu me racontes qu'est-ce que tu es en train de faire.
I've already shared in Resonance Quantique newsletters about remote viewing, which I've also integrated in my training about the transition. We already talked about it. In fact, remote viewing is the transition. It's visualization at distance.
Oui.
And you are very, very strong in it. I'd like you to tell us about your discoveries and what you do with it. You remember on training third level in Paris, it happened even more opening compared to our capabilities. We all have capabilities, of course. It manifests differently with the body, and some are more visual, others have more bodily sensation. We've already explained all this, but it's true that on this level 3, it has opened up a lot more visualization, if we can call it like that, because if we go beyond, it's deeper feelings who takes us in space-time, in bubbles of time. We'll say it like that. It has amplified the ability to visit different space and time and visit the memories, past incarnation, karmic lives. We call it as we want. I prefer saying vibration imprint. I have several training around that, one called karmic archaeology, in which actually I've tested several historical periods going back in time. And if that's the case, we can say there is no timeline. You can see it when you work in it, and I even went to do some experience, you've experienced it too, in much longer period of time, theoretical period that we're talking nowadays, at least some researcher, ethnologists, who are searching in archaeological sites a much longer past period of time, even beyond the megalithic period. We found very mysterious things during my training. I have actually positioned groups of work on those frequencies, and it's working. It's beyond what we actually all experience. We all had the same felt around an atmosphere, around a particular period of time. Eden, Atlantis, there will be at least 3 Atlantis anyway, and Mu, Lemuria, Hyperborea, and all these theories that researchers today are looking for traces, and we are experimenting it. We all had feelings in it, and we had vision and also felt emotional impacts.
Une intelligence profonde, notre nature profonde, qui est colorée par des mémoires d'incarnation physique, parce qu'on peut avoir aussi des vécus a priori, je dis bien a priori, sur d'autres espaces-temps.
It's a deep intelligence, our nature, which is colored by memories of physical incarnation, because we can also have other experience somehow. I say another space-time, and coming to Earth incarnated in a body which serves something bigger, in fact, because our body is a tool, a fabulous machine made of physiology, our DNA, of everything that through cycles, hormonal cycles, etc. This physiology is therefore a matter of atoms, electrons, and everything we know, all you explain so well in the two-point method, is a perfection receiver and transmitter tool for information. What are we talking about? It's a vehicle that has capabilities far beyond what we are told.
les événements peuvent avoir un effet sur notre être. Alors, ça veut dire il y a des mémoires cellulaires.
Yes, I like very much this idea. We can imagine each one of us have a certain frequency, a unique color, our soul. What you said about events may have an effect in our being. So that means that there are cellular memories perhaps in our field, but maybe it wasn't me in this actual time, but a part of it, maybe a part of my own individual frequency, because each of us has a unique frequency and color, and it was inherited and mixed with other things, but we always recognize ourselves, I think. The biggest goal on earth is really as human to recognize you in yourself. Every time we go down into our deep essence, we find this vibration. It gives us so much joy, grace, this attitude. In itself feels like home, or there, inside, we are discovering different paths to have access to ourselves.
À nous-mêmes. En fait, tu as utilisé les bons mots.
Yes, the inside world. I've heard from you the word deep essence. That's how I can translate. As well as the group in training like to translate it like that. Beyond the word soul, in fact, we can call it as we want. Very strong vibrational signature, unique one. We can recognize each other in this vibrational signature, a clear intelligence, as we have seen. When we really go back into this period, it's a kind of intelligence, an energy that also exists in nature, trees, minerals, etc. We all have this kind of signature there in which there is information. It's beyond the first name that we can have in our physical body today, in my incarnation. This is a footprint also stored in the memories we have, incarnation of man, incarnation of woman. We choose a program, in fact. It creates emotional impacts in our past life. I'm working on it, and it's to harmonize those emotional impacts. When I say that, it can be a memory of great joy, and we have memory that we carry with good knowledge and affinities today in this life. And it can also be memories much more difficult, of course, as we know in archaic times, were much more violent, so we can have memories of warriors. We've stored all that inside. In my vibrational signature, I have the colors of my memory as woman, as men, and the resolution is the harmonization. It begins inside of us, in our polarity. In all that, we create colors, frequencies, resonance, information vibrating constantly and exchanging with the other, beyond verbal language and body language.
Est-ce que tu peux nous raconter comment ça se passe chez toi quand tu fais le remote viewing, la visualisation?
Yes, you can tell us how you use the remote viewing. You connect with space and time.
Est-ce que tu peux expliquer?
Oui, alors après,
yes, I really want to say during all the training that I've done that there is no truth. I don't hold the truth, no one does, but we have deep and collective conviction. We're saying, wow, that's not possible. We all felt and seen the same thing, because even if I have the facilities there to do it, I make it easier for the others also to access this vision. It's very important because we all have this ability.
C'était un moment et ça me bluffé. C'était pour moi vraiment. Je l'ai reconnu parce qu'une des meilleures choses, je peux avoir.
Yes, you did it with me, and it was a big moment. It blew me away. It was really for real. I recognized it, a beautiful moment. I was looking at a lake, and the reflection of the sun in the water, it was for me a moment of peace, connection, unity. And when we made that trip to Atlantis, at least, we resonate something, and it was that moment when the fog was covering all the light, like the first time on Earth, where light is reflected in water, and weirdly, it was in front of a pool because we were in an hotel at this time. Yes, it was a specific place. And I opened my eyes and it was really this reflection of light on the water that touched me. And it was like being the everything at the time, a communion with light, with water, but a deep perception of this in the body. And it was so much grace, joy. It was a very big miracle to feel that for me, to live it.
Et c'était tellement vaste, c'était tellement de la grâce, de la joie, c'était un très grand miracle pour moi de le ressentir, de le vivre vraiment avec chaque cellule, cette conscience, cet événement terrestre là.
Et c'est vrai que ça donne.
It's true, it gives that feeling of an understanding of the world we live in, nature and environment. And I think it's one of the focus of this work. All this understanding, this new information that we are experimenting, even physically, it's as if we awaken all memories and we have a totally different look at the nature. There is a before and after. We understand that we have a connection and that we have to create something. You have to take what resonates right first from the moment you experience it. But I would like to clarify the remote viewing work, which is much famous in the United States, of course, and how we travel to this bubble of time. There is not a process of regressive hypnosis. We do not use, in any case, during that training, any kind of human gateway. Things are going much more easier. We are doing it really in live. It's not a projection either, or a channeling or something I see with spiritual guides and things like that. No, it's nothing to do with it. So what it is? How does it actually work? It's morphic field, morphic resonance. I know you told us about it during a training session. You talk about Rupert Sheldrake, for example. He did very profound research about that kind of resonance, the morphic field. And it's possible to reactivate the information regardless of space-time and from the past. I say that because there are also some memories, all that kind of thing that vibrates and magnetism of Earth, there are all information inside of it. And we can imagine, like for example in archaeology, all that strata, all that mud that we go deep inside and we find some artifacts and objects. But also we find for sure information related to that period or to that object. And it is exactly the same kind of process.
Finalement, on aurait accès à beaucoup de choses.
Oui. J'ai l'image là, maintenant. Alors, on fait tous partie de cette une seule conscience. Et cette conscience n'est pas un espace-temps. Mais notre corps, avec tous nos sens.
I've got the image that we make all part of that big conscience. Without any space or time, but our body with all our inner and outer senses. It's like a screen, like a board of perception. And as you say, we resonate, we can say, it's an instrument that can resonate with space and time, or a certain field of information, morphic field. And if we are becoming all that, the moment we resonate, there is no longer this personality. There's no more it. It's much bigger. It's this perception of another being, perhaps we can say spirit, soul, body of light. We are doing experience. It's more than channeling, it's more than inviting energies. It's a direct experience and we become all that.
Comme tu dis, c'est plus le channeling, c'est pas avec d'énergie qui vont s'inviter de faire quelque chose. C'est une expérience directe à ce moment-là et on devient tout ça.
Et très forte, hein, parce que chacun
and very strong, because everyone can really contact information of past incarnation, where the past incarnation where we were living, depending on a certain period of time, we don't vibrate with all historical periods. We agree with that. We have more or less memory, but really with details, very precise. When you immerse yourself in this field, it's morphic resonance from an historical period. We have contents related to culture, architecture, a lot of elements, art, folklore, and we can feel it, see all those things, perceive it.
On peut ressentir, voir toutes ces choses-là.
Aussi, il faut toujours être conscient.
Also, it's necessary to be aware that in the other period, the density of our body, of our being, our instrument, is another thing. We can't always project our experience with physical laws. At a time when perhaps 2,000 years before, 100,000 years before, it was something totally different, a different density. There's also, it requires us a very large opening mind, because we can't put those frames we've got today at the ancient time. It's really an experience like this light on the water I said before. Wow, what's that? It's even another universe, another density, another sensation.
C'est pas une autre univers, c'est une autre densité, c'est une autre... Ouais, on les capte avec autre chose en fait.
Yes, it's true, it's another sensation. But the experience we have in resonance with those memories, we can be as a man, as a woman, but we are not all angels. We don't all have fantastic memories of queen, kings, and elves, or whatever you want. We don't exaggerate. We can have incarnations that are also more darker, but it's quite a game of experiment that we made in the material world. What I'm going to test as well is to make those experiments, those historical resonance, in the place which are also loaded in their own morphic field and information from the old time. Because we can clean those memories and harmonize them in our body, but in the place as well. It's amazing. And I invite even historians who are interested to make this experience and compiling all the information that we are extracting around those periods, which do not look for some like what we are told. So we obviously fall into spheres that are much more related to the invisible world, and there are portals. When it comes to elementals, we saw much more elementals materialize in very ancestral periods. That's very intriguing. What we feel emotionally, what we see, visualize in this different kind of period is what has been described in the tales, in the legends. It's to wonder if really on megalithic period they didn't have access to see that, them, the elementals I speak about. When I saw that, I make it clear that we don't tell what we already know and what we've learned in books. We are not in the process of developing mental history, because when you really immerse yourself in those resonance, the mind, believe me, doesn't work, and we cannot invent those things.
Je l'ai trouvé assez intéressant que tu as dit les elementals, il te semble qu'ils ont été...
I found pretty interesting what you said, elementals. It seems to you that they have been denser, more true. Yes, but our perception were different too. We were much closer to the elements. We exchanged. It was like a part of our family, in fact. It's more our perception which are locked up now.
Nos perceptions qui sont enfermées maintenant. Mais si on rentre en résonance avec cet espace-temps,
we also go backwards with abilities, and you touch another dimension.
Avec tes capacités,
and it was densified in the plane. We can't compare with today, but it was densified because we were closer to each other.
On peut pas le comparer avec aujourd'hui, mais c'est identifié parce que c'était plus proche l'une de l'autre.
Oui, parce que c'est des formes
Yes, it's pure intelligence. We have to understand that it's a kind of intelligent energy. In fact, we all have inside our deep soul, but we deeply feel our identity. the vibration of signature, and each species is vibratory and has its own signature, also DNA and all information inside. But beyond that, it's true that the world today, the modern world, has developed very quickly, which is also an experiment. We are doing a collective experience, earthly, that Wi-Fi connection, everything you want, everything that circulates in the air, and obviously it's parasitating our ability to be a transmitter and receiver. It's really important to understand that, because of course it's very recent in terms of age in history. Nature was much more present still around us.
On dit toujours dans notre pratique avec la méthode de 2 points, on peut agir aussi sur le passé. Et là, notre idée, c'est aussi de libérer.
We always say in our practice, the 2-point method, that we can act about the past. It's also about releasing, cleaning sacred place, because all this old belief, all this confinement of human consciousness, for example, with the wall, with the stone, with nature, with specific places, but that's our job, I guess, with this awareness of opening up and reconnect all our finer capabilities along with other resonances. If one recognizes the origin of the stone place, Mother Earth, Gaia, if we do it with our current consciousness, with an intention in the field, reconnection, real knowledge too, I recognize the origin of things, of beings.
De reconnaissance aussi. Je reconnais l'origine de quelque chose. Alors là, waouh! Wow, ça c'est quelque chose.
Yes, it's very strong. In fact, I've added in my work protocol, something important to reactivate knowledge and abilities related to your memory. Then obviously the ones that are useful in today's world. We are not going to reactivate everything because it's so related to beliefs that are not necessarily useful, which are cultural, religious, ritual of the time, Egypt, for example, I don't know, or Christian, Romans period. It's possible to enable knowledge and skill. It can be more capabilities related to electromagnetic or psychic, but it can also be abilities of organization or things like that, if you want. I think about a Roman soldier memory who knew how to manage men and organize war. Yes, we can reactivate all those kind of things. In another hand, the reactivation, remember all the capabilities inside, but with the ability, we're going to recognize the other. We're going to recognize the sacred places. We're going to recognize the vortex on Earth. We're going to recognize Gaia herself. And we go with conscience, we're going to be part of this liberation, and all this imprisonment, the confinement, that's all that. Yes, we approach the duality, the belief in which we are close, and it is about all that we are also led to believe. So what's the point? There are two things. How it served me individually to connect this memory and this space, and what it will serve collectively. For an individual point of view, for yourself, I think that we live several situations, except our own behaviors that comes from belief in education, from the infants. We all know that. And then there's also karmic memory that pushes us behind them. And when the memory is ready to go out, to be harmonized, because there are repetitive situations that seems totally irrational. I don't understand why this place makes me feel like this way. I don't understand why I always react like this in relationship with the others, in couple, family, or particularly a job. So this is irrational. When you reveal some karmic memories in the present, you have a kind of explanation. It was the case on several people, participants, feeling, oh, I understand better why I'm attracted to this, or why I'm doing this, or why I'm afraid of that, because we are going to touch very ancestral memories. The fears of the sunken, fears relating to Atlantis, fears of lacking related to wars. There are a lot of things that we can reveal, and so it doesn't mean we are going to visit all that fears. It's just meaning that we are going to be able to clean them, to reactivate capabilities. And what's the point collectively? Cleaning the places and archaeological sites is to understand that we need to connect to the intelligence of the planet really. To prepare ourselves for the transition of the planet, you do a training about that. I think there is a collective preparation, an individual cleaning to do. I prefer the word harmonization. Harmonization is prettier because we go toward the light. What is bright, I would say in a very pretty way, it makes me think about mystical weddings with oneself and with her. I reactivate myself. I understand that I'm much more than my body and I can do more things than I thought and being told to do also. And I can see a lot more too around me and in others being. So this is wedding, mystical wedding, in the sense that we are going to connect to terrorism, really earthly, and all this earth energy and information that the earth has stored. At the same time, connect also with electromagnetism, shield, atmosphere. Then we see that we are a lot of things and information, and there is no denying that moon, sun, and stars have effects on us also. We already store a lot of information. From a cosmotelluric point of view, sky and earth, with my body, this vehicle is really powerful, and I go in conscience and insight, and I contact my deep nature. I have my vibrational signature to travel all the time. If I understand that, so we have access to a lot of things and really a lot of information.
Je travaille avec cette image aussi pendant les stages et avec les 2 points.
During the 2-point method training, I use an image as well with the 2 points, which is the 2 hands, and this entanglement with information field. For me, we often talk about consistency light. This currents of a structure of fault line, it's like a magnet in our heart because we're connected with the source, with soul, because each one of us is a cell of the great whole. We can say the body of God or Christian body, I don't know, the body of Allah or whatever.
De Dieu, le corps christique, je sais pas, le corps de Allah ou
l'intelligence originelle, j'ai envie de
dire. The original intelligence, I would say.
Mais chacun de nous, nous sommes des co-créateurs.
We cannot name it, but each one of us are co-creators because we have like a divine spark in us. It's a wisdom that makes things happen. I see it as a magnet in my heart, and when you have line of force in which you put fields of information and you decide these lines with the great whole, with the plane, with the whole. We say in the 2-point method, my heart greets your heart. We activate this magnet of the heart, this alignment with the source, and then we're going to put field of information in it, and we're going to ask transformation of blockages, resources, but all this, it's going instantly. Of the field of possibility at each moment and at every moment it wakes us up, and often it's our belief, our program that blocks, and then we'll see the same thing.
Ok, maintenant j'aimerais que tout va être aligné avec cette
be aligned with this deep wisdom which is also in me. And it's present by a structure of line, and it actually our work.
Oui, quand on s'aligne comme ça si bien, comme tu le dis, et qu'on commence à le
When we align like that so well, as you tell us, we are starting to feel and really vibrate it. So we're really fully connected into everything that happens in the environment. Okay, in the material world and to nature too, in its visible aspect, and its more vibrational aspect. And then we start to understand what we need to work in. We don't have to work all in the same way or the same thing, because we all have abilities really different, each one of us. That's why we are all very different and complementary in our colors, vibration. So we bring back some information field, as you say, but we have to choose the good ones, because we have to clean them as well also. And that permits to change our look on many of the concepts we are in today. The person who did the karmic archaeology, even you experience it. We went, for example, in hidden frequencies, who is really something extraordinary to immerse in. We cannot longer have the same look. When you experience it, and collectively, you cannot have the same look on these stories of twin flame, for example, but many other things as well. I'm really happy to have this interview with you and to exchange with you on this subject. You didn't see your cat was still behind you. She did some cleaning and did some movement, and she was even in the chair. So it reminds me a bit of cats in Egypt. It's true, all that subjects are very interesting. I think about Michael Tellinger, who has a lot of research around ancestral site and megalithic period. And that's fascinating too, because we have a lot of resonance. He tested the frequencies in South Africa, for example. That's a lot of information and questioning also. I think that if we all link around those questions in this understanding and knowledge that we can reactivate, we can make big progress in a lot of things. Yes, we have a plane together there, and we will hear about it very soon. You also offer healing and Skype appointments. Can people contact you? I have my website called Explorateur. It's a well-chosen name. Everything is explained, and all the healing I do at distance and in resonance to access memory if they are present to be worked. But it can also be transgenerational memories. This is something else. So we are on a different plane, but it's cellular memories too. We work on everything that manifests itself and ready to be clean and harmonized. So also for several training in France. I hope this year. The world, Elodie, it's going to be international. My Facebook page, but you have all information at the bottom of the screen there. And that it is. Thank you so much. Thank you, and see you soon.